Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
On this week's episode of the Kindness Project, we talk about Cobra Kai, cartoons, and we have part 2 of our interview with Robert Peterpaul from the Art of Kindness podcast.
Welcome to the Kindness Project. I'm joined by two men. That is a good enough introduction. No.
Is that it?
No,
I'm joined by just two men, basically.
Two blokes have rocked up today, and me. And I'm joined by Chris Dames, my wonderful father, and Russell Dames, our esteemed editor.
Producer? I thought he was an editor when it comes to newspapers and a producer when it comes to podcasts.
I think it's editor and producer when it comes to podcasts.
Oh, you both.
I think I call myself editor-in-chief. I
thought you. I thought your new title was Supreme Ruler of the Universe, right?
No, I think that's what I listed it under on my
Editor-in-chief.
On my LinkedIn bio, yeah.
So you just picked your own job title as Editor-in-chief.
It works well.
I mean, you're not running the Sky News Corporation, are you? Editor-in-chief.
Well, it might as well be the Sky News Corporation. I bet they don't get 100,000 watches of their live streams or whatever they are.
They probably do, but I'll let you have.
They do. Bear in mind, Liverpool don't buy the Sun anymore, so...
Yeah, exactly. I'll let you have editor-in-chief for us. I am joined by the editor-in-chief of the Kindness Project podcast and the rose in between the two thorns of the podcast, Chris Dames, and one of the thorns, Charlotte Dames. How you doing?
Ouch.
Did you just prick yourself on the phone? So esteemed Master Ruler of the Universe. Ruler of the Universe. What should we talk about today?
Yeah, Chief, what's on the table?
Yeah, come on, boss man. Tell us what to do.
Boss man?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, God, it's got to power go to his head. I can see it now.
I think we should run the headlines and
run the headlines.
Well, that's a print. That's what I think.
Too late for that. Chief has already gone out on the shop floor.
Sorry, boss man. That naked picture you sent one of your employees. We've already written about it.
I'd rather semi-naked than naked.
Oh, okay. What's
partially?
Let's not even go there. Let's not even go there. Anyway, welcome to the Kindness Project, ladies and gents. Hope you're doing well. Hope you've had a good week so far. We have had an absolute... You know what? I mean, we recorded last week's podcast in the first week of 2022, like the first working week of 2022. And I've got to be honest, I don't think it had the usual enthusiasm of a Kindness Project podcast, because I think Charlotte and I were just warming up into 2022. But today, I'm feeling it. I am feeling 2022. Are you?
Yep.
So I am loving the way 2022 is going, and that started yesterday when I watched West Ham beat Leeds 2-0 in the cup.
That's one of the rare occasions they win, so I can see why you're.
Listen, mate, we didn't go 1-0 down to some northern fishing village, did we? Like Tottenham.
Northern fishing village. Morecambe are practically Premier League, mate.
Are they Premier League, Russ?
I reckon they will be next season.
All right, okay, fair enough, whatever. Anyway.
How many years have we been doing this now, then?
We've been doing this for what feels like 47 years.
What episode are we on?
200 Sorry?
Shouldn't you ask the editor-in-chief?
Editor-in-chief, how long have we been doing this, boss man?
Throwing it to the room.
We're coming up to 4 years.
Coming up to 4 years.
So what episode are we on?
What episode? 210.
We've gone past 4 years, then.
No.
Well, we must have done.
I don't think we have.
52 weeks.
Times by 4.
is 104.
Yeah.
Times by 2.
208.
Oh, so we've gone by.
What? Sorry, editor. Will you call yourself an editor-in-chief when you don't know how long the podcast has been
You don't
running?
even know when our
editor-in-chief?
anniversary is.
I'm not good with numbers.
I don't know what to say, editor-in-chief. You've shattered my illusion about you being in
Oh,
charge of this actual
okay.
All I
podcast.
know is I answered the phone back in 2018 and I wish I hadn't.
I got asked to share a bedroom with somebody 40 years ago, and I wish I hadn't. It's like I didn't share a womb. I would have kicked you out first. Anyway, let's talk about the question of the podcast. It is called Brotherly Love. Is it love? It's like a sort of. I think.
Banner.
Brotherly banter, that's it. That's it. Well,
Thanks, mate.
well, actually, in our other jobs, we are because we've got a weird situation, Russ and I.
Well, we have, yeah.
He's clearly the boss. I'm situation, and you're weird. I'm the because even though Russ is clearly editor-in-chief of the podcast,
We love you, Russ.
and we're just the talent. That's I'm saying that advisedly. We're just putting our party out, son.
I've got a wristband on my head, so I couldn't find a party hat.
Well, I'm putting my party out because it's 2022. I'm celebrating like it's 1999. But weirdly, in our other jobs, I'm the boss, right? And apparently, what kind of boss am I, Russ?
Well,
Tell me earlier on today.
Hold fire. You're the boss of one of the jobs, but we're like equals on the other one.
Oh,
Like
right, okay.
freeway, we're like freeway buses, me, you, and Cassie. So I don't see how that works. That you're the boss there.
Well, I'm the boss of Savella, aren't I?
You're the boss of Sabella, but not Abraham means business. We're freeway buses.
Freeway boss. All right. He's having a bit of
You
power.
work
I'm entering
together.
here.
It's-
Freeway bus there, and then your boss at the other job I do.
Right, okay, fair enough.
I like
So
I like
what-
to think I make a positive contribution to this project.
What
Yeah.
kind of boss
Look,
did
Charlotte.
you say I was?
Oh, thank you.
In the job where I'm the actual boss, not a freeway boss or an underboss or whatever it is. I feel like I'm in the mafia now. What kind of boss did you say I was earlier on today?
The boss's boss.
I can't remember.
He called me an unconscionable boss.
Don't know what
Unconscionable.
that means.
And I had to
Don't know
Google
what
it.
that
Yeah.
means.
I had to Google it, and apparently it's I forgot what the definition is, but it's not good. On that note, and while I Google unconscionable, can you tell our listeners and our editor-in-chief who can't count what the ways they can get in touch with us are?
Okay, so happy late anniversary, everyone. Just putting it out there. And you can get in touch with us to either answer our questions or celebrate this anniversary with us on Twitter at All the Kindness, on Facebook at The Kindness Project. The Kindness Project, full, straight and simple. If you want to find our website, it's www.thekindnessproject.co.uk. If you want to email us to give us a little celebration that we've been going for 4 years, that's
4 years.
4 years.
4 years. This podcast is
One
going.
more, and it'll be half of the deck.
Half a decade. Yeah.
One more, and it'll be in half a decade. So if you want to email us, it's ola@thekindnessproject.co.uk.
That's what Daleks could look like if you're having a party. Yes, and the question of the podcast, by the way, the dictionary definition of unconscionable is not right or reasonable
Maybe it's the second definition.
or unreasonably excessive. Now,
You are
what I'd like
sometimes
to
too
understand,
much.
what I'd like,
Too much sometimes.
unreasonably excessive. Well, am I not right or reasonable? Am I unreasonably excessive, or am I all three?
Yeah,
Let me just clarify with you what I
No,
meant
not
by
right, not reasonable, unreasonably excessive.
that. Let me just clarify what I meant by that. You are over the top most of the time.
Mhm.
You're
You bring too much
Well,
energy into
reasonable.
it.
I bring too much energy to the room. Come on.
You're
It's-
unreasonable. I
people
took
love
alcohol
my
in
energy.
2018 and half my life's gone spending it here. That's unreasonable.
You still haven't changed your curtains.
I haven't. I took them down
Anyway.
to watch them the other week.
Anyway, today's question, and I'd like to get the esteemed editor-in-chief and the Thorn. I'd like their response to this particular one. What is your TV guilty pleasure? Now, I know what mine is. It is the legendary, and I've been told when we've asked this question online that actually this shouldn't be a guilty pleasure, but for me it is, Cobra Kai. Russ, have you seen Cobra Kai?
I haven't. I'll tell you what my guilty pleasure is, though.
Go on then.
Naked Attraction.
No.
Late at night, if I'm up and I can't sleep, I watch that Naked Attraction. It's baffling, absolutely baffling.
How many episodes you watch, Russ?
Well, it reminds me of a Zoom I once had. And I thought, would I go on there?
Would you go on Naked
you go on
Attraction?
Naked-
Would you go, Russ?
I regularly say to Kelly,
I mean,
If
you need to be attracting a mate, and you have got a partner. haven't you?
but I regularly say
No,
to
'cause
Kelly,
you've seen
if
me
I
naked.
come to you, would I find you a Naked Attraction next week?
And what did she say?
She said no.
Would you go on Naked Attraction?
No.
Was
Yeah,
the, was
If
the
it was
Zoom
an
experience where you came on without
if it
your
was an
top
online
enough?
TV show, then I might consider it. But
So when it comes to going on stuff half naked, you only do that on Zoom, right?
yeah, only on Zoom.
Fair
Only important means you're involved in.
Yeah, exactly, clearly. And Naked Attraction is one of those that would definitely have me switching off immediately.
Well,
I for me, I don't get the attraction of
No, I
Naked
know.
Attraction.
I know, that's what the battling thing is.
How many you watched?
I watched all our series.
So, right, all it takes is watching one to go, this is baffling.
I'm
You
just,
haven't got to watch 10 episodes to go, this is bizarre.
just fascinated by it.
Yeah, you watch it and go, why are these people doing this to themselves?
Yeah,
I know.
why?
Why?
Would you go on there?
No, right. So,
Okay.
Why are you showing your bits and bobs to Britain? I don't
No,
no, I don't know.
that's not quite it. But you look at some people and think, why would you go on telly looking for a mate? Why not go down the pub and find
Yeah, but you, no, you could say that about anything. I mean, I know couples who've met on the web and are fantastically happy.
we know what your guilty pleasure is, and it's not Cobra Kai.
What is it?
It's that Married at First Sight or whatever.
No,
it's
that's the other one. Married at First Sight Australia. Love
now,
it.
Married at First Sight is no better than Naked Attraction.
No,
so-
it is because people haven't got
Yes,
their
they've got
bits and
their
bobs
clothes
out
on.
on it. And
and they're
there
not
is,
showing it to us.
and this is why it's better, right? This is why it's better, and this is why it's so addictive, right? They pretend it's about a genuine interest in people finding their lifelong partner, and actually it just turns into a cat fight between everybody. And the problem is they drag you in with this, like, because I don't like drama TV as a rule, but they drag you in by sharing enough of the
nicey
nicey stuff, and then you get hooked on the drama and go, oh, I'm going to watch it because of that. So yeah, Married at First Sight Australian, Cobra Kai, nothing where people get their bits and bobs out on the telly, no,
I
Russ, all right?
got quite hooked on Below
Here we
Decks
go.
when I was around your house.
Below Decks.
Yeah, you know the
Is that the late night version of Naked Attraction?
No.
Naked Attraction, Below Decks.
No, it's about the
No.
people and they
that's
like.
the people that work on the yachts, the private yachts.
No, I've seen it. I've seen it. I think, funny enough, my and your dad love dad
You
loves a
could
bit
have
of
just said,
Below
"Oh,
Decks.
dad."
Our dad, my dad and your dad, they're the same person, loves a bit of Below Decks.
Yep.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Kids cartoons.
Kids cartoons, what ones?
Oh,
There's just something about them. They're just.
I mean, when I saw
that can't
Russell,
be- that can't be a guilty pleasure. I shed a tear when they took Banamori off Sea Babies, you know. I was so upset.
You can get it on YouTube, Russ, if you have a look.
Yeah.
Or I'm sure you can get Balamory still on the iPlayer.
I can feel myself welling up that I've not every day tuned in and found out what PC Plum done.
I mean,
Like, his bicycle's got to get an upgrade at
Sorry,
some point, mate.
PC Plum's now on Naked Attraction.
And
Is
you know
there a
what?
He's showing off his PC bum.
Yeah, no, I see a
No, he's showing off his PC Plums.
I see a documentary the other week, and that's an actual island where the houses are the same colour.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name of it right now. So if you are...
No PC Plum, though.
If you are... No, it's on Naked Attraction. PC Plum. But yeah, it's called Come to Me. I wanted to say the Island Mole, but I don't think that's
Roly,
right.
roly,
I
roly,
can't
roly.
remember what
The
it's
rolliest
called.
But
mole we've ever known.
weirdly, I mean, you talk about kids' TV and Naked Attraction.
Kids TV.
I think that if Russell went on Naked Attraction, he'd look a bit like Zippy. Anyway, brotherly love, brotherly bants. That's what we're doing. On that note, my friends, let us know what your favourite guilty pleasure is. Okay, what show do you watch on telly that you think is like, I love it, but I'd sort of feel a bit bad? Like, you pitched my party out. I just realised I took it off and put it down, and then suddenly you're wearing it.
The
You
party's over,
literally,
Sonny.
you pinch everything. You've got half my clothes in your wardrobe. You pinch me party out. I can't believe it. And we look forward to getting in touch with you. Huh?
Kids, who would have a mate?
Well, the weird thing is, Russ, she's not a child anymore, which is a bit scary. And on that note, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of kindness news.
Kindness news.
Oh, sorry, do you want to do the trailer?
No, I'm done now.
And I'm going to talk about a Nottingham police officers who paid for homeless boys' presents. And this is a Christmas story. I know we're in the new year, but we're still sharing the good things that happen over Christmas. A homeless boy has been bought presents by officers as he turned up at police station with only a bin bag. Nottinghamshire police said the 12-year-old, wouldn't be a kid then, wouldn't it? Said the 12-year-old went to Nottingham's Radford Road station a few weeks before Christmas. After he was placed with a foster family, officers gathered £130 in cash and other donations to make sure he had gifts at Christmas. Officers said the case had really stuck with the team, and colleagues from across the force had helped. The boy, who spent a few hours with officers at the station a few weeks ago, was presented with wrapped gifts shortly before Christmas Day. He was given a selection of presents, including a football kit, golf putting set, a jumper, and toiletries. PC Megan Bernard said, as officers, it's sometimes very easy to forget about an incident as we have to move on so quickly on to the next. And sometimes that's the only way we can cope with what we see and deal with. But this case has really struck with a lot of officers, and especially myself after hearing his heartbreaking story. It's amazing to see officers coming together and raising all that money so we can make him smile and give him things he both needed and wanted. You know what? I think the festive period is a time of genuine kindness. The fact that we help each other, support each other, and certainly we did our bit over Christmas because we did a bit of fundraising with our local round table, raised a bit of money for them. And thank you. If you are in the Hornchurch area, thank you to the generous people of Hornchurch because you donated about £6,000 to an amazing cause, and we're going to be giving that money out to local charities over the course of the 2022. So thank you on behalf of our local round table. You are absolute legends. But also we did a Give a Child a Christmas appeal at a local radio station. And I think if you've been lucky enough to, be lucky and not have to worry about that sort of thing, you should be able to help. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I definitely agree that just giving back to the community is a very important thing that we should do, even if
Even if, yeah.
I lost the plot. Sorry.
But yeah, so I'm really proud that we that we got to do that. So thank you for that. And what I want to do is move on to the interview. The interview is part 2 of the legend that is Robert Peterpaul. He's from the Art of Kindness podcast. That's part of the Broadway podcast network. Why are you poking me?
No, you're getting it right.
All right, okay, that's fine. Thank you. I'm glad. Thanks for the tap of validation. I appreciate that. A bit of an all-round awesome dude. We really liked having a chat with him. Listen to the second part of the podcast.
Interview.
Oh, right, that's awesome.
So talk to me. Right, so that element of using a platform for kindness. What have you learned from speaking to people about that?
So many things. I think it's really cool to approach people's journeys from the kindness angle. So I like to talk about when you first were starting out and auditioning, if it's an actor, or when you first started painting, whatever it is. I like to ask, were there any random acts of kindness that helped you sort of climb the ladder and keep going, and people that inspired you? And I think it's just a very different kind of conversation, and people are so open and excited to talk about kindness and positivity, as I'm sure you guys know. So when you approach it from that angle, people immediately will say yes, and they're just a little bit more open-hearted. So
do they find it unusual that you're taking it from that perspective, particularly given like sort of the questions you might ask in a normal celebrity interview?
Yeah, I think the first question I always ask is, because I'll have my guest on, and usually I'm a fan of the guest or a friend with them or whatever it is, and I'll compliment them, and then I'll say, how are you at taking compliments? Because I think that's something hard for artists, is to accept the love and the compliments coming their way.
Okay.
And I think that opens up the doorway to asking them what kindness is. And that's the question that I think, oddly enough, it's such an obvious one, but it tends to surprise and stump people a little bit. I just had the opportunity to interview Kate Mara and Adam Scott, who are both actors, and they had a project they were promoting. And I only got them because I was going to focus on asking them about their project, which I did, but I also slipped in some kindness questions. And they were so taken aback. I was like, what does kindness mean to you? And they both sort of like, oh man, that's a lot of pressure.
I thought we were here to talk about the work.
Yeah. But then, it makes people smile, and I never try to approach it in a preachy way. I always, they end up being really funny. Like your show, like a lot of the conversations ended up being a lot of laughs and things like that. So it does surprise people, but I think once they give into it, it's, people are in interviews, they're always waiting for that gotcha, and there is no gotcha on my podcast. No. So I think by the end, we're all just smiling. And
well, I think part of it is just starting from that sort of period of we're all on the same side, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like when we have guests on, all we want to do is just help and support. And I think if you approach your guests that way, it's but I agree. I do think probably celebrities are waiting for that gotcha moment to happen. But it's interesting. Yeah. Help me understand. So you've mentioned a couple of times about sort of cancel culture in the US. Has that impacted you and the people you speak to? Well, what do you think's happening in that space?
Yeah, I'm actually so fascinated by cancel culture because I've noticed it before there was even a term for it. I noticed we would take Jennifer Lawrence, for instance. We would have a really talented person enter the public eye that everybody loved. People were so obsessed with her when she first spotlighted to fame with the Hunger Games. And then the trajectory generally is like a roller coaster. They reach the top, and then people love to see these people fall from grace, and then maybe they go back up again. So that was one example that I witnessed in real time. But now that there's a term for it, I think it's happening even faster. There's less peaks and valleys, and it's more just like they'll drum up something from your past. People are looking to cancel people now, and I think it goes back to that negative mindset. And sometimes, people do deserve to be canceled, and their platform, they deserve to have it taken away so they can reflect and work on themselves. But a lot of the time, it's almost like
I think we've got to be careful though, right? Censoring people for their opinion. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
You know, we can, and I think like one of the things that we talk about in the podcast a lot is I think part of the challenge, particularly with social media culture, is there's no nuance of debate. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, have a conversation, disagree, but still recognise that there's positive qualities in somebody you might disagree with, and they are potentially the accumulation of their upbringing, values, and stuff like that, and what they've learned. And it's difficult, isn't it? Because I think trial by social media often means that it
becomes a bit of a gang ho on a single individual.
Totally. And social media is physically flat. You're looking at social media on your computer. You're looking at it on your phone. It's not 360. And people are 360. And I think kindness is too. I don't know about you guys. I think you probably would agree. But kindness to me is not when you're walking around smiling and doing wonderful things for people all the time. That would be great. But that's just not authentic. I think kindness is leading with authenticity and love and trying to be your best. But we can't always achieve that. So
and then sometimes failing, right? You know, because we're human.
Yeah,
we're not perfect.
Yeah. And people are expecting these people with platforms to be perfect, and so one word can be swapped in their tweet, and that all of a sudden the headline is so and so said this, and it's not even really the truth. So,
I mean, for me as well, I think kindness is about giving people a chance, and I think a lot of what annoys me about cancel culture is it's just about saying, but you said this particular thing on this particular day. Well, just, let's reflect on this. We've all said things we regret. Can't we give that person the opportunity to... You know what I mean?
Sometimes it's like, we found out you said this 20 years ago. I know.
Yep.
And you haven't changed.
Like we all haven't
changed.
You took the thought actually directly out of my head. I was thinking 20 years ago too. I don't know why. We're in sync. But it's
I mean, a lot of the stuff we say on the podcast in jest could be taken out of context, couldn't it? It's just one of those things where, I'm absolutely with you on that. Now, we love a story on the Kindness Project. We ask people to share stories all the time. And what we'd like you to do is share the most favourite story you've heard from either one of your guests or just one that you've heard about kindness.
Ooh, that's a really cool question. I'll have to think about that for a second.
Think about it.
Okay, while I think about it, I need to hear the story of the bison in the room. There's a bison. Is that a bison painting behind you?
The macaque.
Or is that a cow?
It's a cow.
It's a cow. It's a cow.
Sorry, I thought that was an American interpretation of the elephant in the box.
You know what? I thought.
Listen.
What's the bison in what's the subject we can't talk about? The bison.
I thought I was being smart, and it's not even a bison. It's a cow. So I actually was not being smart at all.
So there's a Scottish artist called Stephen Brown, and my wife's family's all from Scotland, who paints multicoloured cows, and we quite like his art. So we've got one of his pictures up. Now the problem is, Robert, and our podcast listeners won't be able to see this, but he's got a pair of horns. Can you see the horns now?
Yes, I can.
And the problem is, I've been sitting on Zoom calls through work, and in a position where it looks like I've got a pair of horns. Yep. You've got to be really careful about where you put the painting. But it's good. But it does brighten up the. We've got quite a sort of. I've got to be careful now because my wife's looking at me. I'm not insulting you, decorating. We've got quite a modern eclectic.
Full of various things.
Yeah.
Word of the day.
We've gone. We'll add that into the list. But the walls are painted grey, so they didn't just have a bright image on the wall.
There's loads of bright stuff in this house.
There is loads of bright stuff.
That's awesome.
Were you talking about your hair?
I love it.
I'm sure it's blonde right now, so the pink's gone out of it. But
Yeah. So tell us about this story.
Well, okay, this is interesting because now that I know it's a cow, one that came to my mind is, this is an exclusive. No, it's not, but the episode hasn't been released yet. It's with a Broadway star I love, she was in the show Matilda. Maybe she was in it on the West End too. She was in Zora, I think, on the West End. She won an Olivier Award for it. So you might know her, Leslie Margarita. Okay. She's such an awesome person. Yeah, she's a really fun person, and the episode's going to be great. But she grew up on a cattle ranch, which I did not know about. And we were talking about how people that tend to take care of animals just are inherently a little bit kinder, it seems like. And so she used to put on shows with the cows. Literally, she put on musicals with the cows. Okay. They were either in them or they were her audience members. So that popped into my head. But I guess the specific...
Yeah, that must have been really amusing. Are we time for a dad joke? No, we'll leave that one. We'll ignore that one.
Yeah. I'm not even a dad, and I tell dad jokes constantly. So,
and one of the interesting things when we've been sort of doing the research on our guests is when we read about your podcast, you talk about getting to the bottom of what kindness really means. Now, I've got to be frank, we've been doing this for 4 years now, Rob, but we're not at the bottom of what kindness really means. You know, that perception of kindness with different people and looking at different angles of this sort of stuff means that you're always learning about what kindness means to different people. But what have you learned about kindness, and what does kindness mean to you?
Wow. Well, I think it is getting to the bottom of kindness. It's a process, and I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom, but I do think at the bottom there's got to be some love. And like I was saying before, and I guess the definitions we've gotten have been so different, which is really cool. But it seems to me at its core, kindness is using your time on this planet to make both your own life and someone else's life better. Love it. Just
engendering positive change, right? That's the big thing. You know,
yes.
Can you make I had a client of mine, actually, funny enough, who I was talking to, and his definition of kindness I loved, and I don't think I've shared it on the podcast before. His definition of kindness was, can I make the world a better place when I leave it from when I came in? And I like that. Do you know what I mean? That sort of element of, can I just have my own personal impact in terms of making the world better? It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
There was something I wanted to mention as well.
Go on then.
I will remember it. Oh, yes. In the description for your podcast on the website, there was something very specific that I noted, and it made me chuckle.
Was it a spelling error? Because don't tell me.
No, I grammarlied it. No, I didn't.
Good.
You said something about throwing positivity around like confetti, and it actually made me chuckle because we've got a poster up on the wall that says "throw kindness around like confetti." And I was
and I suppose the interesting thing is, as you say, one of the things that we talk about on the Kindness Project is being kind to yourself as well. And one of the phrases you mentioned is that toxic positivity, like pretending you're always good.
Yeah.
How do you differentiate? Do you think? What do you see as that sort of toxic positivity and just genuine, just having an optimistic worldview?
Well, I think toxic positivity is when you ignore how you're actually feeling. And we talk a lot about awareness on my show. And so the awareness of how you and others are feeling is part of kindness. So if you're just ignoring that you actually feel like crap and all this other stuff, then you're not really being kind. You're putting on an act. And that's where I think you're being maybe nice and a little bit phony. And there is something to, not wallowing in how you feel. But if you don't recognize it, you can't give from an empty cup, and you can't come from an authentic place. So
I think one of the things that I'm really glad of over the past few years is just, that conversation has developed. And I'd imagine it's the same where you are, certainly where we are, about the importance of looking after your own mental health and actually having more open, genuinely honest conversations about that. I think being kind to yourself is important, and sometimes that's about recognizing, as you said, Robert, that the world isn't perfect, right? Sometimes we can feel low and appreciate that.
Oh, sorry, that's something I wanted to ask. It's not on the list of questions we have planned, but so over the lockdown, I feel like this podcast has really helped the both of us, because obviously it was over lockdown. We did live streams. We got up every morning on time, live streamed.
That was good fun. That was really good fun. 4
days a week or something.
Actually, during lockdown 1, that was a bit of a lifesaver for me, because yes, we were working and you were studying.
That's what I'm saying.
But having that, going on Facebook and just doing a live stream, then people
were commenting. We were getting to talk to people. We were actually having engaging conversations with people.
Yeah.
So
we need to do more lives.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that really helped the both of us during lockdown, with our obviously keeping up with stuff, but also our mental health. So has your podcast helped you in any way during this difficult time that we're all going through?
100%. I think that's cool you guys did that, because a routine is also really important with self-care and wellness and kindness. And this podcast has been my total creative outlet. I mean, as an actor, auditions were not happening. They've started to happen, but it's even more competitive than ever to even get an audition. And so having this podcast that I could just log onto my computer and talk to these people via Zoom about positive things, it never manages to turn my day around. I mean, I'm sure once we leave this Zoom, I'm going to be smiling and my day is going to be all the more positive. So
you know what's weird, and thank you for your lovely email as well. We really appreciated that.
Of course.
But one of the things that we always underestimate, I think, is the impact of like your work and the work that we do on the podcast on the world. We very regularly get messages saying, during lockdown I was feeling rubbish, and seeing you sort of talk about random words.
Didn't some woman come up to you after the lockdown was over and say, "Yeah, I was watching you every morning"?
Yeah, and it was something I didn't know as well.
Wow.
It was this weird thing where she'd found the podcast and she went, "Yeah, you made my morning." I was like, "That's weird."
That's amazing.
I'm not a celebrity, but I've got a stalker apparently. This is
listen, that's why you do it too, right? Because when I get these messages on social media or wherever, it just fills me with so much joy, because that's why we're putting this out there, is to make people feel happy.
Exactly. You want to help where you can, and if it does make somebody's morning, particularly when they've had a bad day, we can help. So talk to me about next steps for the podcast. What have you got planned next?
Yeah, so we are about, I think, 6 months out. We just started in July, but we recently got signed by a podcast network, which is cool because they're helping us sort of amplify things and connect with people, which has been awesome. I think podcasting is awesome because it's so random and there's not that many rules. So I'm thinking that with the new year coming, I'm going to end season 1. I'm like, do I even need seasons? I don't know. And then we'll sort of relaunch with another season. Or that's, what I was told from a good publicity standpoint in the new year. And we just have so many cool guests coming from, actors and writers and directors to drag queens, celebrity chefs, sort of everything under the arts umbrella. And so I'm excited.
Where do you get your guests? Do they hear about the podcast, or have you got a network? How does it work?
Yeah, it depends on the guest. Some people I know, so I'll just reach out to them.
Yeah.
A lot of the people are through publicists, and I've just built these different connections as an entertainment writer and reporter over the years.
Sure.
So they'll send me their clients, or they'll have someone that's promoting something, which is always a little different because then you have to really focus on the project versus kindness questions. But it's all in good fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me about your projects. Oh, don't worry about that. We're talking about kindness now. Half hour later. And then talk to me about the ultimate goal. What do you want the podcast to be?
Well, the ultimate goal is to get Dolly Parton on the podcast, honestly.
Oh. We're going to get there first. This is a competition now. Competition time.
Maybe we can do a special trio episode, right?
Hashtag Parton on the podcast. It's gonna needs to happen.
If you like her, there's a great.
Russ, you need to email Dolly Parton's publicist. All right.
I'd be lying if I said I didn't. I did email her manager. And here's the thing, someone's a class act and that they're big for a reason if they get back to you right away. Because I found that the really amazing people like Dolly Parton, her manager, emailed me back right away and said, she's not doing press right now. She sends her love. Yeah. I don't even know what was really going on, but it's
actually to respond and do it in a really polite way is cool. I like that.
Yeah, so that's a goal, but the obvious goal is to just make people.
She did a podcast with. I don't know if you've listened to it. She did. Because I'm a podcast fan as well as a podcaster. She did Brené Brown's podcast.
Yes,
that was amazing. She was so good on that. Yeah,
that was a great episode.
Yeah, she was very good. So the ultimate goal is Dolly Parton, and Robert, that wasn't my ultimate goal. Weirdly, it is now.
Oh no! It's a great goal, honestly.
We need to pick somebody else, don't we? To pick somebody else. Maybe Bernard Cribbins would be a good one. Bernard Cribbins would be an amazing one. We love a bit of Bernard. Tell us a little. Sorry, we're just again having a conversation between ourselves. What do you know? Who Bernard Cribbins is?
And the cow. I know. I do know the name.
Oh, right. We will send you a link.
Okay, send me a link. Okay.
He was in Doctor Who for
But he also did music and just.
But he's been around as like a bit of a British icon since the 50s. So he's quite old now. But he's a bit of a British legend. And that was the second part of the podcast/interview. I really enjoyed our conversation with Robert, and definitely check out his podcast.
Yes.
What did you think, Robert?
I think it was really cool, like chatting to him, and he was just like, he had all these interesting stories about the stuff he's done, and like, but he was still really like happy to talk to us.
Why wouldn't he be? Sorry, why wouldn't he be? Why are you nodding, Russ?
I'm getting a nod from the chief.
Bossman's nodding. Bossman's nodding.
I reckon he'd get emails from people that don't want to talk to us.
So the fact that he did, was good. Yeah. Anyway. On that note, let's answer last week's question of the podcast. And last week's question of the podcast was, what's your favourite family tradition? What?
You missed a bit.
Go on then.
You missed a step there, champ.
Go on then. You're boss man, I'm champ. What are you?
Thorn on everyone's side.
No, you're not. You're amazing.
'Tis the end of another podcast. But the end is never really the end, because the end is always the beginning of something entirely new. And as my father has said, it is last week's question of the podcast. We are doing the answers for that. And what is your favourite family tradition?
And we've got a few answers on this one. Not one of our most popular questions. And I know that we've got a few that are particularly popular. What's your favourite family tradition? Steve Dan just said funerals. You've always got to have a funeral. There's no avoiding them. Yes, funerals are a family tradition, but more of a necessity, to be honest, Steve. Roberta White said kitchen parties at Christmas. I love that one. Stacey King said board game fun of Christmas dinner. Always great fun. And then loads of family barbecues in the summer. That's brilliant. Emma Tangy said pizza and movie night on a Friday. That's a family tradition. And Chris Budd said, my mum always does something accidentally inappropriate during charades on Christmas Day. This year, her mind for in had us in stitches. Taking her home, I told her why we were laughing. She said, I know. She'd been playing us all along. Now, my mum and our mum, Russ, okay, let me rephrase it. My mum and your mum, our mum used to do that with every single board game we played, wasn't it? Particularly when we introduced a 68-year-old woman to Cards Against Humanity. Something that I'll always remember. But yeah, and that on that particular note, talking about a 60-year-old, 8-year-old woman playing Cards Against Humanity, we are going to say goodbye and see you next time on the Kindness Project.
Toodles.
Bye.
Bye.